Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jennifer McCollum from Parent Teens, and I have today with me the lovely Desiree Ferrari. Hello, Desiree.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining us. Desiree is from Parenting with Desiree. She is a JAI certified parent coach extraordinaire. I said I was going to add that extraordinary because I know you, and you are. You're also a mother of two 16 and a 17-year-old. Good for you.
Yeah. Thanks.
What else? Oh, there's so many good things to talk about. But you have studied and applied nonviolent communication for about 10 years. So I know I'm going to want to hear more about that. And you're a graduate of the Landmark Forum and the advanced course by Landmark Worldwide, which is awesome. You've worked and studied under Tony Robbins with private mentorship and with a certified coach for about 3 years, which I think speaks volumes to the kind of impact you now can have on other people just working with Tony Robbins. And the one other thing that you wanted me to talk about was that you love working with clients from all over the world. And I know at the end of our chat, we're going to talk about how you do that. But for now, I want to hear all of your good advice, because everything you told me you're going to talk about, I'm like, yes, I want that. Yes, I need that. Yes, I want to know more about that. So first of all, hello and welcome.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I'm so happy you're here. So you're going to talk to us about three things that I think every single parent wonders, has questions about, and really struggles with the answer. So I'm so glad you're here to talk about them. The first thing you're going to talk about is the teenage brain and how it's really different from an adult's brain. That's number one. Number two, you're going to tell us why teens are so tired, why they don't want to get up in the morning, and why they don't want to go to bed when it's bedtime.
Yeah.
So I know we all have that question. And number three, why is my teenager so emotional, sad, angry, moody? Again, another great topic to tackle. So let's go back to the first one. So
Okay.
tell all of us about the teenage brain and how it's different from our adult brains.
Okay. So the teenage brain is really kind of undergoing major reconstruction, like major remodeling. And, some people know, some may not, the brain doesn't actually finish developing until like mid-20s, 25 to even 28. So what gets so confusing is our teenagers look and talk like adults. Our son may have a deep voice and a mustache. Maybe our daughter is having menstrual cycles, wearing a bra, has, the curves of a woman. So we're not looking at this 6-year-old kid anymore. We're looking at our child looking like a young man or young woman. And because they look like adults, it's so easy for us to get duped into believing that they can think and act like adults. But while their brain is still forming, adults use the prefrontal cortex, which is right up here. It helps with like rational thinking, decision-making, understanding the long-term consequences of our choices or our actions. But that's the last part of the brain to develop. So our teenagers don't have that to use yet. It'd be like building a new room upstairs and not having the floor in it yet. It's kind of there, but you can't really use it yet. So teenagers do things and we're like, what are they thinking? Well, they don't have the part they need to really think about that. So it gets really confusing when we see what looks like a young man or young woman make what we might call stupid decisions. We're like, what's going on here? And it's just because they don't have that part of their brain to use. It's not because they're not trying. It's not that they're trying to add stress to our lives. They're really, truly doing the best that they can with what they have. So they really need a lot of patience and understanding from their parents right now, as they're growing into that. And sometimes they're going to make amazing decisions and we're so proud and we see how they're growing up and, we're just like, oh, they've got this. And then tomorrow or in 5 minutes might make a decision that's at the other end of the spectrum that has us going, what the hell just happened here? So it's just, the thing is just to know that the last part of their brain that really helps them with all that rational thinking and decision making, it's not done yet. So they just really need a lot of patience and just a lot of guidance and help while we, as long as we know that's what's going on, I think it makes it easier for us to support them through that. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Totally. And such a great reminder to just know the stage that their brain's at.
Mm-hmm.
And it helps us with having that understanding for what's going on. And this
Yeah.
is something that we probably know, but to be reminded of this possibly daily, can you just remind me of that daily?
Just pop you a little text. Teenage
Yeah.
brain.
Here's the Desiree update of the day. The kids are doing the absolute best they can with the brain they have at that time, and it's growing. And I love, love, love that whole perspective on just realizing that and having more understanding and possibly more patience too. I think,
Yeah.
me speaking personally as a parent, I lose a lot of patience when I think that they look like they're all grown up, they should be acting a certain way, and they don't have
Yeah.
that capability yet. So gosh, that's a great subject.
It's, it's something that I didn't know. I didn't realize that their brain doesn't finish developing, but it makes sense. I mean, they're still growing up. And then once I understood where my kids were, it did help me to be more patient because I wasn't having unrealistic expectations. I thought my expectations were realistic. And then once I learned where they really were, it was like, oh, I can understand it. And not necessarily coddle them through it, but it was more adorable when they did something that made no sense to me. And you know what I mean? Just to, oh, I get it. Aren't they precious? Let me help them. As opposed to like, my blood pressure has gone down a lot since I learned that.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to try that. Oh, aren't they precious? Isn't this wonderful? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Desiree, I'm going to try that. Okay. The second thing you want to talk to us about is their sleeping habits. So they never want to go to bed at night and they don't want to get up in the morning. So tell us about that.
So if you remember when your kids were babies, they needed a lot of sleep, right? And that was okay. We understood, we knew they needed sleep. So kind of like with the teen brain thing, when we know what they need and where they are in their development, we're okay to give them that. But can you imagine expecting a baby to sleep only 8 hours a day when they need maybe, 12 to 16 hours, and we're waking them up and forcing them to try to do stuff and we don't understand when they're cranky or when they're falling asleep? We'd never do that to a baby because we know they need that much sleep. Well, a teenager needs an average of 9.25 hours. And this comes from the National Sleep Foundation. They've done a lot of research and studies. They need 8 to 10. So your teenager may need 10 hours of sleep, but 9.25 is the average. So just to give you a quick example, let's imagine, and I know every place is different where kids go to school and some kids are homeschooled, but let's just say an average public school kid. I know my kids here had to be leaving for the bus at 7:45 in the morning. So let's say they have to get up at 7. Let's go back 9.25 hours. It's 7 hours just to get back to midnight. Now 2 more hours, 10 o'clock for 9 hours, now 9:45. So if they have to get up at 7, they have to be out, unconscious, already fully asleep at 9:45. Not going to bed, not brushing their teeth, not scrolling through Facebook, out, right? So whose teenager anywhere is asleep at 9:45? Very few. You might find a few, but there's not going to be many. So the thing is, when your child is sleep deprived all day and they can't learn in school, and now they're frustrated, and they've 5 days a week of not enough sleep. We as adults aren't getting 8 hours, most of us. So now a teenager that actually needs more than that and is getting less, it'd be like us probably running on 5 to 6 hours a night, which some people do, but they also probably don't feel good. So teenagers actually need that sleep. Now the tricky part, which makes it extra fun and interesting, is for an adult, our brain starts to produce melatonin, which is the hormone that makes you feel sleepy, about 9 o'clock. It's just what happens. It gets dark. Once the sun is gone, our brain's like, oh, it's time to start getting ready to sleep. A teenager's brain is a little bit off, and it doesn't even start producing melatonin until 11 p.m. to as late as 1 a.m. So they are biologically predisposed to not even start to get tired until later. So if your kid's laying there in bed, like trying to go to sleep, I'm trying to go to sleep, I'm trying to go to sleep, they can lay there for, maybe they go to bed at 9, but it's 11 o'clock before their body goes, okay, finally we can go to sleep. So now they're sleeping like maybe 11 to 6, 11 to 7, maybe they've gotten 8 hours, but what if your teenager needed 10? So now they've lost like, a fraction of the night's sleep night after night after night. And then they have school all day. They might have work. They might have sports. They might have clubs. They might have friends. They might have whatever. So they are truly exhausted. They are really, most of them sleep deprived. They're not trying to be lazy. They're not trying to frustrate you. Their body is just screaming for sleep. That's all. So if you can let your kid get, a 20-minute power nap after school, or even an hour and a half nap on the weekends, let them do it. Let them sleep in, they really desperately need it.
Wow. I never knew that about the melatonin, that it didn't kick in until later for teenagers. That really explains it all.
Yeah.
So aren't they
Again,
precious? Could we do that too? With
like, oh, look, love his little heart. He's just not sleepy yet.
no, it's
Not trying to drive us. Yeah. They're really not trying to drive us crazy. They're not trying to be oppositional and be like, oh, I know she said go to bed, but they're just not tired. I mean, someone tries to put you to bed at 7 o'clock, which some of us are tired at 7 because we've gone all day. A couple hours before you would normally go to bed, and you're like, I'll lay here, but I'm not going to sleep. And then we're like, oh, well, how long, and maybe taking their phones out of the room might help, because if they're up playing, video games or scrolling on, social media, that is going to keep them stimulated and awake, especially the blue light from that screen, which actually, just so you know, if they have a screen like a TV, a cell phone, whatever, the blue light coming from that, it's a short wavelength light, they call it blue light, turns off the melatonin faucet in your brain. So that's why it's ideal. If they want to listen to TV while they go to sleep, that's not going to hurt them. But if they're looking at it, it just makes their brain go, it's daytime, wake up, it's daytime, wake up. So it's kind of like, are they not going to sleep because they're playing video games, or are they playing video games because they can't go to sleep? It's kind of, so if you can maybe tone it down, let them listen to something, it's fine to help them go to sleep. But if they're looking at a screen, it's going to keep them up later.
That's great advice. I always use that too in our house, that no screens in the bedroom. So I love that, but it's it's something that I had to learn the hard way, and it's something that, I encourage other parents to do it too, because once you start with allowing screens in the bedroom, it's hard to say, okay, now none. So if you've got young kids that are getting their first phone, Desiree, that's great advice. Like, keep them right out of the bedroom and let them go to sleep.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, number 3, you want to talk to us about why our teens are moody, angry, grumpy. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I'm the only parent who might have ruined a child's life by asking them to pick up their stuff in the living room, or have the dishes washed before I get home from work, not like after I come home to a messy kitchen. So this kind of piggybacks on the first thing we talked about the teenage brain. So since their prefrontal cortex is not yet developed, they still have to have something to think with, right? So the amygdala is in the back of the brain. It's more emotional. I might not be giving the exact location, but it's back here. It's not up here. So the amygdala is the emotional part of the brain. And since the teenagers don't have this part to use, that's where they live. They live in the emotional part of their brain because that's what they have access to. If the bathroom I'm building upstairs isn't available, I'm going to use the bathroom downstairs. It is. I still have to have something to use, right? So the kids still have to have a part of their brain to think with. And that's what they use, is the amygdala. So, and the thing to really get here, and this is what kind of drove it home for me, studies have shown that teenagers are actually more prone to these high emotions than any other age. So think about when your kid was a toddler and you may have given them the orange cup when they wanted the purple one, and all hell broke loose and there was a tantrum that came right after that. Our teenagers are actually more emotional than that at this stage in their brain development. So when they're like melting down, or you've ruined my life, or oh my God, it's the end of the world, that's literally where they are in their brain development. And it can go up and down, and it can peak and crash in 5 minutes, or because the wind blew a different way, or because they got a text message. Anything can do it. It's the only thing. Everything goes into that emotional part of the brain, and everything comes out of that emotional part of the brain.
That is an amazing insight for us. And I want to talk about how all of this and how it ties into your coaching business, because you are a certified parent coach. You work with parents all over the world. Tell me a little bit about when parents connect with you. Before we started recording, we were talking about how they connect with you. So will you tell us a little bit about that and the process with hiring you as a parent coach?
Thank you. So I love talking with parents. I always offer a free consultation first, just so they can really get a feel for what it would be like to work with me, so I can really hear what's going on with them, so we can work together to figure out what they need. I do offer a 10-week course that goes through the JI program, which I personally have used as a parent, not as a coach. Um, and I loved so much the results I got from that for me and my kids, that's why I became a parent coach. Excuse me. I can also do a tailor-made package. They may just need, a couple of sessions that don't necessarily go through the program. If everything's going to be tailored individually to what they need. So they can book a private consultation when they go to the Parent Teens website, to my bio on there. There's a link there to my website, which will schedule them for their consultation. Parents come to me for all different reasons. If anything in their relationship with their kids isn't what they want, if they're hitting their kids and they don't want to, if they're screaming at their kids and losing their patience and they don't want to do that, they want to be more calm and peaceful. They want to learn other ways to, I don't really like to use the word discipline because I think everyone assumes that to mean corporal punishment, but other ways to work with their kids to kind of get the results they want, whether they want their kids to help them around the house, they want their kids to stop fighting with each other, they want their kids to be more respectful to them, or they want to learn to be more respectful to their kids. Whatever it is, if anything's not quite like you thought it would be. We all had this vision of what parenting was going to be like before we had kids. And then we got here and we're like, oh my God, this was it? What did I do wrong? And it's not that anything's wrong. A lot of times it's just that we don't understand a lot of things about where our kids are. So, parents can call me and we'll talk about sometimes just little things you didn't know. Kind of like the things we talked about today. I didn't know any of these things. And if I'd known them 5 years ago, it would have made the last 5 years a lot more peaceful, So it's really to help them figure out what they want. If it's a deeper, closer connection with their kids, whatever their goal is, I help them get their goal. I'm not here to set goals for them. I'm here to hear where they are, where they'd like to be, and then we're going to close that gap together.
That's great. And we had also talked about too how they can connect with you. So you are in the US, but I know you have clients all over the world. So it doesn't really matter where they are. They can call in and tell me about the ways again that they can call in, because if they're international, the price of the phone call might deter them, but there are apps that you use so that there's no cost to the phone call. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah. I've done calls with clients who are international or even in the US, whatever their preference is, through Facebook Messenger, through WhatsApp, through Viber. I'm definitely open if there's another, actually Viber is one I didn't know about, but I had a client in Serbia and she said, can you use this? I said, I don't know what it is, but I'll find it. And we did it. And that's how we did our call. So it was no cost to them, no cost to me. It was unlimited time. So we had the time we needed for our call without ever hitting a point where there was a charge for it. I record the calls so they have access if they want to go back and listen later. I'm always open to options. If they're in the US, we can just do a call. Most people, I don't think, pay long distance anymore. But if there's any kind of an issue with figuring out how we're going to connect, I'm happy to work with you any way we need to make sure that we can connect, and it's not going to cost you a fortune to do that, or not going to cost you anything. We have too many options now to be paying for that kind of stuff. We make it as easy and simple as possible.
Isn't that great? And I really love that you do these calls because life is busy with parents, right? And that they can be anywhere. They can be in their car driving home from work and talking to you about this. They can be, the kids are in bed. Well, not the teenagers, they're still up. They go for a walk and they call you and they do. So like it just can really fit into everyone's life to be able to get parent coaching this way. And this is fairly new. This is only like the last 10 years that we've been able to really connect this way. So I love that you do that and encourage people to make it fit into their life. And I just want to remind everyone that Desiree does offer a free call, right? Is it 30 minutes free?
It's usually about 30 minutes. If someone feels like they need an hour, I'm willing to do an hour. Some people have a whole lot more they need to really get out. And if that's what they need, I'm happy to give it. I really just want them to get a taste of what it's like to work with me so they know if that's a right match or not. It may not be. And I'm totally open. I want to make sure that I'm really serving people, but they're going to need to know, I feel like they really need to talk to me before they have an idea.
Mhm.
They need 30 minutes, we'll do 30. If they need an hour, I'll give them an hour.
Well, you are very knowledgeable. You know what you're talking about. You've got teens yourself. You've been through it. You've got the training. And if, anyone is just questioning why they wouldn't just call you for that free, time with you to just figure out what they need in their parenting life, I don't know. I think I would encourage everyone to just do it. And whatever it is that you're struggling with, questioning, having issues within your family, that definitely reach out to Desiree. So Desiree, can you leave us with one thing for parents? Tell us, like, what is the one thing you hope that everyone takes away from our chat today?
I really just want people to know more than anything, you are not alone. I've talked to a lot of parents who go, "Oh my God, your kid too? I had no idea. I thought it was just me. Oh, I thought that, mine was the only one who acted that way. I thought I did something wrong. I thought, and the thing is, no, you're not. It's not just your teenager, it's all of our teenagers because this is natural human development. We all did it too. If we really want to be honest and think back, we were the same way with our parents, when we were teenagers. We didn't realize it because we were in the teenage brain experiencing it. So we didn't even realize maybe how emotional or how dramatic we were being, or we didn't understand why we were tired all the time. And as we're hearing how lazy we are, we thought, oh, maybe I am lazy. Who knows? Or I don't know, but I'm sure we can also all look back to decisions that we might have made as teenagers that our parents weren't real pleased with, and then what were you thinking? And so the thing is just understand you're not alone. You're not the only one. Your kid's not the only one. And when you really feel like you have exhausted all options and you don't know what else to do, there is another way. And I promise someone here in this group on this parent teen site can help you find it. I can probably do it. And if I can't, I know there's somebody else here who can. But I promise there is always another option. There is always a way.
That is beautiful. Thank you so much for being here.
You're
I can't
welcome.
wait to watch this over and over again because all of those tips and advice and suggestions you gave us are just so helpful to me personally, and I know to everyone that watches this. So thank you,
Thank
Desiree.
you.
Have a wonderful day, and I hope you come back and join us again someday.
I'd love to. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Bye-bye.